There's a number of ways that I can think of answering this question. The first is, I still feel our focus is always on the children. And one of the mistakes we make is that if we've understood something, we've heard a lecture, is that, okay, quick, now how do we teach the children? This isn't what we've been taught, this is something new, this is good, we like it, it makes sense, now how do we teach the children? I strongly believe that we have to teach ourselves. And this is not an overnight lesson. I really truly believe that if we start to understand the value of this ourselves, we will be able to teach the next generations collectively, rather than looking towards myself or anybody else as a parcharak or whatever you want to call us, to say, what are you going to do to help my children? And the truth of the matter is that it's very difficult to teach someone anything in one session. I can come and today there was a session, why aren't you doing something with the youngsters? Because if I do something with the youngsters for once or one session, it's going to have no impact. And the reason I can say that is because I've been doing this for many years, and I've been going to camps for many years, and I've been speaking to the young children, and my understanding is now that the sorts of things that Gurmat is teaching requires learning over a period of time. It's not an overnight learning, it's not something that you can do just by listening to some lecture. The number one main requirement is that you have to try to do the Naam Simran yourself. It's not a logical exercise. It's not something that you just learn and listen to some lectures. You must do the practice of Naam. And I always recommend that there are two practices of Naam. One is Naam Japna, the other is Naam Simran. And I call them two different things. Naam Japna is what I call the formal practice. Sitting down, concentrated and doing that. Naam Simran, the word Simran means to remember. And that I call the informal practice, which means as you're walking around throughout your day, you have to try and keep that Naam Simran going. But again, it's not God calling. We talked about this earlier as well. It's not about God calling. It's about God realizing. So, Avirji at the camp gave me a very good example, and he said, like, this is how I understand it. He says that you have to remember all the time that God is talking within you. That there is this alive thing, God, within you all the time. Whether we call that consciousness or whether we call it God or Ikonkar, if you constantly remember that within you is the power of the universe, and the power of the universe is flowing through you, then even as you're having conversations with someone, you can realize that this is not me having that conversation. This is that divine power that's having that conversation to another divine power. So this must be something that is practiced. If you do not practice this, it's just knowledge, and your children will reject it. Your children will reject something that you yourself have not known. So while I completely understand the sentiment and the absolute desperation from parents, what do we do with our children? The deeper desperation you should have is, what should I be doing with myself? And that doesn't help straight away, because at the back of your head you might be thinking, yes, but what do I do with my children while I'm learning this myself? And the truth is, we have to stop looking at Gurmat as a religion for them to accept or reject. I don't think this is a religion for them to accept or reject. I think if Gurmat starts to transform your life, they will start to see that change in your life. Not that the change in your life means that you do a whole bunch of different things. You're waking up early and you're changing your diet and you're changing what clothes you wear. That's not what we're trying to pass on to our children. We're trying to pass on the awareness of losing ourselves, the awareness that this whole universe is in control, the awareness that the universe is always doing something. We call that something hukam. Whatever the universe is doing is really out of our control, and we have to find the peace with whatever the universe is doing.